Tired of the long hours? Is your budget driving you insane? You need a budget bot. What's happening, guys? My name's Nicholas Renat, and in this video, we're gonna be building our very own budget bot. Specifically, we're gonna be using Watson Assistant and Planning Analytics to do it. Let's take a greater look in detail as to what we're going to be going through. So in this video, we're going to cover how to set up webhooks that interact with Watson Assistant and Planning Analytics. We'll also build a budget bot that allows us to load commentary from our Watson Assistant bot all the way through to Planning Analytics. And last but not least, we'll actually test it out and load some commentary direct into our Planning Analytics cube. Now, in terms of how we're going to be doing it, we're going to be training our intents and entities within Watson Assistant. Then we're going to be using IBM Cloud Functions as webhooks to interact with our Planning Analytics bot. And last but not least, we're going to be pushing all of our commentary into our Planning Analytics general ledger cube. Ready to do it? Let's get to it. So in this video, we're going to be setting up a budget bot. So specifically, we're going to be able to use a bot, enter in our account, our cost center, our project, and a whole bunch of other good stuff. And we're going to be able to pass through a comment to our budgeting tool. So in this case, the budgeting tool that we're going to be using is Planning Analytics. And you can see we've got a comment there already. And we're going to leverage a webhook. So if you haven't set up a serverless webhook for Planning Analytics already, I'd highly suggest you go and check out that video. The link will be, I don't know, somewhere around here. So check that out and then we can get up and running. So there's a couple of things we need to do today. So first up, we need to enable our webhook as an action. This is going to allow our bot, and specifically Watson Assistant, to go and reach out to it. Then we need to set up Watson Assistant, which is going to be really quick and easy. Set up our skills. So this is going to be where all of our budgeting knowledge is stored within Watson Assistant. Set up our intents to work out what we're actually asking our bot. Set up our entities, set up our dialogue, and then test it out. So let's kick things off and get our webhook set up as an action. So in order to do this, you just need to go to cloud.ibm.com/functions. And then from there, just hit actions. So this is going to be where all your webhooks are stored from that previous video. So if you've gone and set that up, you should still have your webhook available in here. And the webhook that we set up in that video was called PA Serverless. So if we just step into PA Serverless, all we need to do here, this is really easy, just go to endpoints and select enable as a web action. So you can see that there and hit save. And that's really it. Now what we're going to need is this line here. So if we just wait till that's finished saving, and you can see it's now saved, we can copy that and we'll just save that here. So this webhook that we've just grabbed here, this is going to be what we pass through to Watson Assistant to enable us to reach out to our Planning Analytics service. Now what we need to do is, so we can mark this as done actually. Now what we need to do is set up our Watson Assistant service. So in order to do that, we just need to go to cloud.ibm.com/catalog. And then if you select services, then choose AI machine learning. So down here, and then choose Watson Assistant. So there's a bunch of pricing plans. For now, you can set up the light plan, more than enough to get started, and we should be able to set up our budget bot through that. So select light down here, choose your region. You can change your region if you want to, and hit create. And once that's finished creating, you'll be taken to a manage page, which you can see up here. And then from there, all you need to do is hit launch Watson Assistant. And we can just close this tutorial and step back and hit done. Cool, so that's our assistant setup. So we can now mark that as done as well. Now, the next thing that we need to do is actually set up our assistant and create a skill. So in order to do that, we just need to hit create assistant. And in this case, we're going to call it budget bot and hit create assistant down there. And then we need to create a skill. So a skill is basically going to encapsulate all the knowledge that we have to do with our budgeting. So from here, to create a skill, all we need to do is hit add dialog skill, then select create skill. So you can see you've got add existing skill, create skill, use sample skill, and import skill. We just need to hit create skill. So by the way, all the assets for this video are going to be available in a GitHub repo in the description below. So if you want to import the skill, you'll be able to do that as well. In this case, we're going to hit create skill and we're going to call it budgeting skill. Leave the description blank. You can add something if you want. Language is fine, and then hit create dialog skill. So from there, you can see that our skill is now created and we can step into that. And now what we're going to do is start setting up our intents and our entities. So before we do that, let's just check our to-do list. So we've now started setting up our skill. Now we're gonna start setting up our intents, setting up our entities, and then eventually we're gonna set up our dialogue. So the first thing that we wanna do is setting up our intent. So you can see here, an intent is a collection of statements that have the same meaning. Basically, an intent is really going to be used as a trigger for what we want our bot to do. So in this case, we want an intent to trigger whether or not we want to load commentary or load a budget or load something into planning analytics. So in this case, the intent that we're going to set up is going to be mainly around load commentary. So let's go on ahead and create an intent, and we're just going to call it load commentary. So that's our intent name up here. Now what we need to do is actually include some utterances. So an utterance is basically just a fancy name for an example of an intent. So in this case, the examples that we're going to include are enter commentary. And the cool thing is if you hit try it out here, you're gonna see that our Watson Assistant bot is training in real time. So if we enter in enter commentary, load commentary, and then load comments, that should be enough for now. So once this is finished training, you'll see this purple box go. All right, so we've got a couple examples of utterances. Ideally, you should have 5. We're just gonna include 3. And you can see here that we're getting our pro tip that's saying use at least 5 unique examples to help Watson understand. So we're just gonna leave it as 3 for now just to make things quick, but you can add more if you'd like. All right, so those are our intents done, and you can see our Watson Assistant bot is training. Now what we want to do is go and set up our entities. So our entities are going to store our enterprise knowledge. So they're going to be our nouns and our keywords. And specifically here, they're going to be our accounts, our cost centers, our versions, and our projects. So let's go on ahead and set some of these up. So the first one that we want to set up is an account entity. So let's create entity. And in this case, we're going to call it account. Hit create entity. And again, we just need to include some examples. So in this case, we're going to include account 123, 1231, and add that value to 123, 1232, add that value. And again, these are just accounts that we've got within our planning analytics service. All right, so that's 3 that we've got there. Now we need to go and do the exact same thing for our cost center, our month, our project, and our version. So let's go on ahead and smash through that. Alrighty, so those are all of our entities done. So you can see here we've set up one for our account, one for our cost center, one for our month, project, and version. And in this case, we've just included examples that we're likely to find within our planning analytics budgeting tool. So let's quickly take a look at our to-do list. So we've now set up our intents, and we've also set up our entities. Now what we need to do is set up our dialogue, and as part of that, we need to set up our webhook. So let's copy this webhook that we just grabbed here, and let's step back in. So in order to set up our webhook, we just need to go into options, and you can see that we've got this URL here. We just need to paste in our webhook into there, and that's our webhook done. Now what we can do is start setting up our dialogue. So whenever you set up a dialogue, you've got the ability to add a node, add a child node, and add a folder. So the first thing that we're going to do is go on ahead and add a node. And this first node is basically going to detect our intent. So remember we set up that intent, which was to do with loading commentary. So if we choose our intent, you can see that we're basically going to have all our intents available. And what we're basically saying is, if our assistant recognizes our load commentary intent, then it's going to do whatever's in this node. So we might choose to say we've recognized our commentary intent. And then if we go and test that out on our assistant, so if we type in load commentary, so down here, you can see that we've detected our commentary intent, and we've also responded appropriately, so with our text that we had here. But what we actually want to do is kick off a bit of a process to collect all the different pieces of information to push to our planning analytics service. And we can do that using slots. So if we actually hit customize, and choose slots, this is going to allow us, and hit apply down here, this is going to allow us to ask for multiple pieces of information or check for multiple pieces of information. And specifically, we want to check for these different entities that we've got here. So our account, our cost center, our month, our project, and our version. So if we go back to our dialog, and what we're going to do here is we're going to create a slot for each piece of information that we need to load our budget. So in this case, we're going to need our account, our cost center, our month, our project, and then some of them we're going to hard code. So let's go on ahead and start setting this up. So first up, we want to check if we've got a specific entity. So for example, what we can do within the check for input field is select into that, and you can see we're going to get a filter. So if we choose our entity, the first thing that we want to check for is an account. So if we've got an account saved, then what we want to do is save our account as a variable, and this is going to allow us to use that variable later. And if it's not present, then we want to prompt our user. So we might say which account. And now what will happen is if we go and trigger this again, so if we type in load commentary, it's prompting us for which account. So we might then say 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And you can see we've now detected our account and we've also gone and responded appropriately. But more importantly, if we actually go to our context, you can now see that we've stored that account. So we're going to do the same thing for all the other pieces of information that we need. So we're going to do it for our cost center, our month, our project, and our version. So to do that, we just need to add in a couple of extra slots. So we're going to need 5, and then we're just going to create 1 per entity. So those are our slots done. So we've got 1 for an account, 1 for a cost center, 1 for a month, 1 for a project, and last but not least, 1 for a version. Now, if we go and try this out, so if we type in, or if we clear our context and type in load commentary, you can see it's prompting for our account. So if we give it our account first, it's asking for our cost center, it's asking for our month, then asking for our project, so we'll type in BAU. It's asking for our version, so we'll type budget. And you can see that because it's got everything, so it's got our account, it's got cost center, it's got month, it's got project, it's got version, it's now responding with this piece of text here. But what we actually wanted to do is then ask for our piece of commentary and then send it out to our webhook. So now what we're going to do is go on ahead and set that up. And just for reference, if you select manage context up here, you're going to see all of those context variables set. So we can see our account, our cost center, our month, our project, and our version. Now what we need to do is ask for that piece of commentary. So we're going to close this for now, and we're going to delete this response here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a child node. So we can hit add child node. And again, we're going to detect whether or not we've loaded commentary. And now what we're going to do is ask what is the comment. And what we want our commentary node up here to do is automatically jump to this node once we've collected all of our different entities. So we can do that by selecting this load commentary node, and down here, rather than waiting for our reply, let's just make sure we've got that deleted. Rather than waiting for our reply, we can hit jump to this node here. And then what we're going to do is, rather than waiting for user input or whether or not we've recognized a condition, what we're going to do is choose respond. So this is basically going to get our assistant to jump from here automatically to this node and ask us what is the comment. So we can go and try that out. So again, we can type in load commentary as our intent. It's going to ask us which account. So again, we can pass through all of the pieces of information. So this is one of the cool things about slots. So rather than passing through one piece of information at a time, so one account, one cost center, so on, you can actually pass them all through in a single statement. So that will capture all of it. So let's pass through our account, our cost center, our version, which is going to be budget, our project, our month. And you can see it's now prompting us for what the comment is. So it's captured all of our different entities, so our account, our cost center, our version, our project, and our month. Now we can type in what's our comment. It's not going to do anything after that because we haven't actually set up anything, but let's type something in. And because we haven't set up anything after that, it's just responded with I didn't understand. You can try rephrasing. But now what we actually want to do is capture that comment and store it within our context and then go off and trigger our webhook. So let's first close this panel here. So before we create our commentary capture node, what we want to do first is set up a new context variable. So in order to do that, just select these three little dots up here next to assistant responds and open our context editor. And what we're going to do is type in intent and commentary. And the reason that we're going to do that is we're going to look for this intent in our next node. So again, let's add a child node. And what we're basically going to do here is detect our intent. And we're going to check if it equals commentary. And if we've detected that commentary intent, then we're going to capture our comment. So we can again do that by opening up our context editor and setting our comment variable or creating a comment variable. And then what we want to do is use some spell. So it's a specific syntactic language to detect our comment within our assistant. And we can grab that using our input.text and put that in quotes. And this is basically going to grab our input from our last statement as our comment. So when we enter in our comment in this node here, it's going to grab that input.text. Now what we want to do again is we want to jump to this node as well. So what we're going to do is select this node. And again, rather than waiting for our reply, we're going to jump to this node and we're going to wait for our user input. So what should now happen is we'll trigger our load commentary node. We'll then capture our comment and then we'll have our comment stored within our context from this node. So if we go and try it out, so we type in load commentary, we'll type in our count. So again, we'll just pass through everything in one go. And again, we're getting prompted for our comment. So again, if we check our context, we've got our account, our cost center, our month, our project, our version, and our intent now. So keep in mind, it's now detecting our intent. Now what we can do is pass through our comment. And now if you take a look, our context is increased as well. And you can see that we're capturing our comment. Perfect, so it's captured our comment. Now all that's left to do is actually go and send our data to Planning Analytics using our webhook. So let's first up just close this and close this. And what we're going to do is choose our load commentary node and again, add a child node. And what we want to do is only trigger this if we detect that we have a comment. So we can type in $comment and it's gonna trigger based on that. And we actually only ever wanna go to this node after we've gone through this entire process here. So what we can do is go back into our intent equals commentary node and select jump to this node. And we want to respond automatically. So we're going to evaluate our responses. Now from this node here, this is going to be our webhook node. And from there, this is where we can actually go and send our data into Planning Analytics. So in order to configure this, we just need to hit customize and then hit our toggle for call out to webhooks there and hit apply. And you can see that we're going to have this ability to add in all these parameters here. Now there's a bunch of parameters that we actually need to add in. And these are all the parameters that we want to send to Planning Analytics. So our month, our value, our account, project, so on and so forth. So let's go on ahead and set up these parameters. All right, so those are our parameters set up. So what we've done is we've set up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parameters. And each one of these corresponds to a dimension or value within our Planning Analytics cube. So you can see here that we've got our month, we've got our comment, our account, project, version, and we've also hard-coded some of these variables as well. So for example, we're just going to be sending to our local currency node, and we're also only going to be sending to our base source and our commentary measure. So the last two things that we need to do are just set up a response. So we're basically going to say either commentary successfully loaded or error, something happened. So we can now go and test this out. So basically what's going to happen is we'll trigger our load commentary node up here. So this will detect our intent. We'll then prompt for our comment, save our comment, and then send our webhook. So let's go on and try that out. So let's clear all of this. So now we want to load commentary. We can pass through all of our values. Then type in our comment. So then this will go and reach out to our webhook and hopefully load this into Planning Analytics. And you can see that we've read out comment is successfully loaded. So if we go back into our Planning Analytics cube to this intersection here, so account 2,000,001, cost center 1,001 or 100,001. So if we go back, grab that cost center, grab that account, and we've got the right version, and let's just make sure that we've got the right project. And we've got the right month. And you can see that our commentary is successfully coming in. So again, we can try this with another month, for example. So if we went back into our assistant, cleared our context, and typed in load commentary again. We didn't type that in, it still detected that. So even though we typed it in wrong, it's gone and corrected us and again prompted us for our correct account. So let's try that, or try a different account. Cost center. It's asked us for our version, so we'll type in budget. And again, our commentary's been successfully loaded. Let's go and find that comment. So we change our account this time. And we also sent it to a different month. Let's check, did we send it to that month? Yeah, we did. And you can see, again, we've loaded our commentary successfully. And that about wraps up this video. So we've now been able to load commentary into our Planning Analytics cube. So we're able to go through this process, capture all the entities and intents, and push that data through. So if we take a look at our to-do list, we've set up our dialogue and we've also successfully tested our bot. So we've done a bunch of stuff in this video. So we've enabled our webhook, we've set up our Watson Assistant, created our skill, intents, entities, and dialogues, and we've also tested this out and successfully loaded our data into Planning Analytics. Now, one last thing that I almost forgot to show. So up until now, we've been mainly working with our bot using this sort of development interface. But if you wanted to, you can really quickly create a web chat component and embed it in your website. So all you need to do that is select Assistants up here, select your budget bot that we created before, and then hit Add Integration. So from your integrations, you've got a bunch of integrations into other systems, but really we're just after the web chat, and we can name our chat. So we can call it Budget Bot and hit Create. And this will create a web UI component that you can see here. And again, we can use it through this. So say, for example, we wanted to load commentary. Again, you can see that that's going to go down our flow. So again, we can type in our components. Again, it's going to ask us what our comment is. Load running late. And you can see we've successfully captured our comment through our chatbot. And now if we go back to our dashboard, you can see that our commentary has been updated. So you can now take this component and you can embed it wherever you want. So the script to do that is actually just on this embed bit here. You can grab that script, paste it into your website, and you've got your very own budget bot up and running. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and tick that bell so you get notified of when I release new videos. And let me know in the comments below what you're building a budget bot for. Thanks again for tuning in. Peace.